Today we're diving into a story that honestly sounds like it was ripped straight from a Hollywood script. But it's all true. This is the story of one of the most brilliant and perfectly legal robberies in history.
So here's the big question, right? How on earth do you pull off a multi-million-dollar heist with no guns, no masks, no getaway car? Well, it takes an insane understanding of the system and a plan so bold nobody could ever see it coming. Let's get into how it was done.
Picture this. It's a tense race day in a tiny Irish village. But the real action, the stuff that matters, it's not on the track. It's happening over in some thorny bushes, where a man is hiding, just waiting for the exact right moment to spring a trap he's been setting for months.
So, let's meet the mastermind. And I'll tell you right now, he was not your typical criminal. In fact, if you go by the letter of the law, he wasn't a criminal at all.
The man in those bushes was Barney Curley, a gambler so legendary he made bookies literally sweat. They knew if Barney was in town, something big was about to go down. See, he didn't just play the game. He was there to break it, turning its own weaknesses into his greatest strengths.
So, how does a person even develop a mind like this? Well, to really understand Barney's genius, we have to go back to his childhood, where he learned about the incredibly high stakes of gambling firsthand.
Barney found out about cheating pretty early on. His dad trained greyhounds and would sometimes drug the slower dogs to fix races. Well, at 15, Barney beat his own father at his own game, drugging a different dog and winning his first big bet. But just a year later, a huge loss threw the family into crushing debt. Barney had to quit school, work in a factory for 18 long months. And that's where he learned the brutal, painful reality of what happens when a bet goes wrong.
And that right there, that's the key. That painful experience shaped his entire philosophy. He stopped seeing the gambling world as a game of chance and started seeing it for what it was, a system full of loopholes and flaws. And he just had to be smarter than the people who wrote the rules.
So, that philosophy, forged in hardship, all led up to 1975. He cooked up a master plan to pull off the biggest win of his life. He called it the Yellow Sam Plan.
And what was his motivation? Well, by this point, Barney was deep in debt himself. We're talking 12,000 pounds. He was desperate. This wasn't just about a big win, it was about survival. He needed one massive, life-changing score.
So how'd he do it? The plan was just a thing of beauty. Step 1. Find a horse that looks terrible on paper. Step 2. Make that horse look even worse to drive the odds way up. Step 3. Find the system's one single weak spot. And finally, Step 4. Coordinate a perfectly timed nationwide ambush.
Okay, so first, the horse. He found one with a horrible track record and named him Yellow Sam. That was actually his father's nickname. Then, he very cleverly entered Yellow Sam in races on soft, muddy ground, which he knew the horse absolutely hated. This just tanked his official rating, making him look completely worthless to everyone else.
And the result of that brilliant strategy? By the time race day came around, the bookies had Yellow Sam at 20-to-1 odds. That means for every 1 pound you bet, you'd win 20. To them, the horse was such a sure loser that the potential payout was huge.
But here's the genius part. The horse was just the bait. Barney knew the real weakness. The system's single point of failure was all about communication. Specifically, the one and only public phone booth at the Bellastown Racecourse.
All right, so it's race day. The whole operation, every single piece, now hinges on one man and one very important phone call.
This was basically a two-pronged attack. All across Ireland, Barney had 300 agents ready to go with envelopes full of cash. Their orders? Flood the betting shops with bets on Yellow Sam just minutes before the race was set to start. At the same time, back at the racetrack, his friend Benny had a much simpler but way more critical job.
Right before those bets started pouring in, Benny walked into that single phone booth and started a very loud, very emotional, and completely fake phone call. He was crying about his supposedly dying aunt, just refusing to hang up. Anyone trying to use the phone, including the bookies at the track, just got a face full of his sob story.
And here's why that was so critical. That single phone line was the only way for the betting shops around the country to warn the bookies at the track about the tidal wave of bets coming in on Yellow Sam. With Benny tying up the line, that warning never came. The bookies at the track were totally blind, and those juicy 20-to-1 odds were locked in tight.
So the trap was set. The odds were locked.
Now the only thing left was for a horse that everyone thought was a total loser to run the race of its life.
And you bet he did. See, Barney had been secretly training Yellow Sam on hard ground, which was the horse's favorite surface. On race day, he didn't just win, he absolutely dominated, finishing a full 2.5 lengths ahead of everyone else. Barney, watching the whole thing through binoculars from his hiding spot in the bushes, had actually pulled it off.
And the financial result? It was staggering. From a total investment of about £15,000, Barney Curley and his team took home £300,000. In today's money, you're looking at roughly $3.5 million.
The bookies were furious. They knew they'd been had. As a final act of pure frustration, they decided to pay Barney his winnings in the smallest bills they had. It took 108 massive sacks of cash just to haul it all away.
And here's the best part. Barney hadn't broken a single law, not one. He just played their game better than they did. Of course, the betting industry immediately changed its rules to close the loophole he'd so brilliantly exposed. But Barney became a legend, a folk hero, who was celebrated for his genius and for using his winnings to help people in need, earning him the title the Robin Hood of racing.
And that kind of leaves us with the final question, doesn't it? Barney Curley operated in that gray area between the rules and reality. So what do you think? Was he a criminal who got away with it? Or was he a genius who taught the entire system a lesson it would never, ever forget?